The gap between organic and inorganic science is being closed rapidly, even in the minds of the laboratory experts who created the breach in the first place. The gap did not exist in actuality. It existed only in the minds of those who peered through very, very inadequate microscopes. It was because of this delusion concerning the gap that science separated itself off from religion. The only religion that will bind one back to the source, in the correct meaning of the word, is the science of man's evolution. The church that a man attends plays no part in his evolution, except perhaps to retard it. God is pure energy, and he does not attend a church. He is also pure love, and he desires that his prodigal children return home to him at the earliest possible moment. We can only go home to the Father's house when we have finished with our classroom work on this earth. The entire Aquarian Age program is therefore dependent upon having an abundance of leisure time for evolutionary study. We must give up that ancient device of earning our living by the sweat of our brow, get busy with our homework, and make our ascension. Master Saint Germain is well aware that machines are necessary to accomplish the Aquarian program for all people everywhere. The homespun way of life may be quaint and even colorful, but it is dreadfully inefficient. There are 10 billion souls who must be processed through this Earth Training Center during the next 2,000 years. There will not be time for anyone to sit around doing hand embroidery in order to pass away the hours. Actually, the New Age machinery, much of it invented by Saint Germain himself, is ready and waiting, but humanity is not ready to accept it. Therefore, in the interim period, it is necessary for men like Carr and Matthews to invent machines which will carry the world peacefully through the transition period. Further, such inventions serve to anchor the New Age energies in physical matter, raising its vibrations and lifting karma, and that is a very important factor from the hierarchical point of view. Adepts are not permitted to just hand out inventions to the human race, however desirable those inventions may be. That is why men like Tesla, Matthews, and Carr must serve as outposts of consciousness. They have human free will and can put forward inventions without imposing on the free will of others. It is up to humanity to accept or reject inventions which are offered in the open, competitive market. Carr has realized this fully and has organized a solid business corporation under the normal conventions of the American free enterprise system. This is the system which prevails today for good or for evil, and in order not to interfere with man's free will, Carr has arranged his enterprise to fit into the established way of life. It may not be tomorrow's way of life, but it exists today, and we must accept it in good grace until change is indicated. Adjustments must proceed in an orderly manner, for it is the desire of the hierarchy and the space people that the transition from the old age to the new be made without fear or panic, stress or strain. There is no need to talk of impending cataclysms, for with the straightening of the Earth's axis in 1958, the greatest period of danger is over. It was on a summer day in 1925 that Otis T. Carr was busy with his new duties as a package clerk in a large midtown hotel in New York. He had just arrived in the city to study art, and he found employment in order to cover his tuition. First he had felt impelled to come to New York. Upon arrival he had felt impelled to apply for a job in a particular hotel. He was put to work at once and was just getting acquainted with his surroundings when Nikola Tesla wound his prophetic way through the subterranean passages of the lower basement and approached the new package clerk. "When you finish your duties here," said Tesla with grave dignity, "go out and buy 4 pounds of unsalted peanuts and bring them to my suite." He handed the lad from Elkins, West Virginia, sufficient money to cover the purchase, plus a generous gratuity. The gratuity was part of the Tesla legend. To him the laborer was very, very worthy of his hire. Otis was not surprised at the nature of the request because, as he had often been told, in New York one could expect anything to happen. It was not in the least like Elkins. The package clerk carried out the order and delivered the peanuts to Tesla. Meanwhile, he had made a few inquiries among the other clerks, and he found that Tesla was a great scientist who fed peanuts to pigeons. He even took care of the sick and injured pigeons and kept many of them in baskets upstairs in his suite. Upon making the delivery, young Carr was invited by Tesla to come in for a chat. This was the beginning of one of the most unusual and most fascinating stories of discipleship that has yet come to light in modern times. Usually people look upon the training of a disciple as something extremely mystical and esoteric, something that takes place within a lamasery or secluded retreat far from the haunts of men and pigeons. But in this instant, and it is certainly one of the most successful instances of discipleship on record, most of the training took place on the steps of the New York Public Library. Day after day, in good weather and bad, young Carr carried peanuts to Tesla, and day after day the elderly scientist and his young protege strolled slowly along certain streets where flocks of pigeons were wont to gather in anticipation of the scattered nut meats. The pilgrimage usually ended on the steps of the library on the west side facing Bryant Park. There the two sat side by side, with Tesla luring the birds to eat out of his hand, while he explained to young Carr the fascinating details of their mysterious intelligence. Tesla is said to have talked but little in those years, but fortunately young Carr was not inhibited by any knowledge of this fact. He asked the great genius so many questions, and listened with such rapt eagerness to every syllable, that Tesla soon gave him a nickname, the Sponge. This served as a little joke between two good friends, but actually the name was well chosen, as Tesla realized when he selected it. When the average disciple is in training, he gushes forth questions like a fountain in full play. It would seem to an observer that such an individual could not possibly absorb the answers, even if answers are forthcoming from a teacher. Usually they are not, for the wise teacher merely listens, and from time to time, when he can get a word, he offers certain explanations. However, in all correct esoteric training, it is the God presence of the individual who does the actual teaching, not a guru. The guru may be present at the side of the disciple, but that is merely to provide a certain warmth of companionship. It is often much easier for a student to talk to a teacher than it is to hurl questions at empty space. Esoteric training is based on certain scriptural phrases. Before you have asked, I have answered. Ask, and you shall receive. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Seek, and you shall find. I am the way, the truth, and the light. It is this attitude of seeking, questioning, asking, constant wonderment that is the hallmark of the disciple. Direct answers from a teacher are not only unnecessary, but often confusing. It is absolutely necessary for the disciple to ask, for that is the spiritual law. The presence will do the answering when and if necessary. The presence does not pour useless knowledge into the brain of a student. Only school teachers do that sort of thing. A disciple may ask a question and wait 25 or 50 years for an answer, but when the answer comes, as it surely will, it will flash into the mind at the exact moment that it is needed. Therefore, when Tesla teasingly named young Carr the Sponge, he indicated that he knew Carr was storing up knowledge that he would draw upon at any time in the future when he truly needed it. Assuredly, he did not need to understand the workings of the universe in order to sit on the steps of the library with Tesla and toss peanuts to pigeons. Tesla's correct attitude was proved again and again during the 30 years that followed the 3-year period of Carr's training. Carr never saw Tesla again or had further contact with him after the 3rd year. During the 30 subsequent years, Carr spent hours daily in his own little workshop, performing the thousands of experiments that lead to final success with the gravity motor and electric propulsion system.